10 years, Ahadi Community Church has been a beacon of faith, hope, and love in Toronto. From its modest beginnings to becoming a vibrant, thriving community, we now celebrate a journey filled with purpose and look ahead with hope for the future. The growing attendance and unwavering support from our community reflects a deep commitment to Ahadi's mission, building strong bonds, nurturing faith, and growing together.
From the beginning in 2014, we were involved with Ahadi. But did you know it was first called Hakuna Matata? It was a pilot project of the Toronto Anglican Diocese for East Africans and friends in the Greater Toronto and beyond as far as the KW area. We enjoyed the service, fun and fellowship at St. Paul's Lawn Park in Mississauga. Following the closure of the church, we met at Elibert and Joseph Place for a barbecue and meetings while they were looking for a new home to worship and a new name. Ahadi, Swahili for promise, was chosen with Genesis 12 in mind, the concept of keeping faith in the new land. Ahadi found a permanent home at St. Chad's in 2016, where monthly 1:30 services were held. The church lacked a sound system though, and we would set up the rental equipment for special events. In 2017, we held a barbecue in our own backyard for many Ahadi members following their trip to St. Jacob's Farmers Market in Kitchener. Many members and even some of our neighbors commented on our wonderful way of witnessing our faith. A video recording of the Ahadi Choir using our recording audio sound equipment was done at the church in 2017 also. The last Sunday of August was Back to School Sunday, and we created the bulletin, contacted the children to participate in the scriptures readings and prayers. We also celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and special events and served refreshments that we donated a lot.
Sorry we can't be there to celebrate with you this weekend, but Ahadi is always in our thoughts and prayers.
Don and Carolyn Boucher.
Ahadi started as a church plant, a small seed of faith, and has blossomed into a dynamic congregation. Our identity is shaped by a youthful, energetic spirit, largely influenced by the newcomers from East Africa. Ahadi was founded in 2014 by Reverend Oliver Milongo, whose vision was to create a welcoming space for all, a spiritual home where faith meets community and everyone is embraced.
Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Shelmith Luchera, and I'm speaking to you as one of the older members of Ahadi. I joined Ahadi in 2015. Ahadi was just in its infancy stage at that time, and we was worshiping at a church in Mississauga. At that time, I was living with the Watibinis, and they introduced me to the church basically. When I went to the church, I found Reverend Mulongo preaching. And her way of preaching, the way she was conveying the message really caught my attention, and I just loved how she was preaching and how she was relating her message with examples from home from time to time. So I thought I had really found a place to call home church-wise, and that's how I stayed in Ahadi since. The other thing that was nice at that point I found was the togetherness of the membership, the fellowship at church as well as after church service fellowship, sharing with people experiences of the week, and just helping each other grow in any different number of ways. So I found this to be really good, especially for me, having been only 3 years old in Canada. I thought this was really, a distressing kind of environment. On an individual level, I think this was a highlight for me when I became the warden, and it was very, very nice to experience that role. It was eye-opening also to just get to understand the workings of a parish and the Anglican Church in itself. So that was a really good opportunity for me to have participated in. And just going a little bit back again, I cannot forget to mention this as a highlight of my experience in Ahadi, which is the baptism of my own child, Elsie. She was the first Ahadi member, if I'm not wrong, to be baptized. And therefore, I'm holding this crown high, and I'm glad that my child started off with the good spiritual beginnings, thanks to Ahadi. Shortly after that, my godson Jabari got baptized there, and a few more children got baptized afterwards. So I'm grateful, and those are moments that will always remain at heart for me as an individual.
Our milestones have defined us, from our first baptism to impactful outreach initiatives. Each step has strengthened our community as a church rooted in service and community.
My name's Reverend Eliveret Nasambu Mulongo. I am a priest with the Anglican Diocese of Toronto. I am the founder of Ahadi Ministry, which is now called Ahadi Community Church. I would like to reflect on Ahadi Ministry even as we celebrate its 10th anniversary. One of the reasons for beginning Ahadi Ministry was to bring the community together, especially beginning with the Kenyan community at the time, and generally the East African community. I, as a student at the Toronto School of Theology, I had studied a Bible study for the family housing at U of T. And when we did the Bible study during those days, as people introduced themselves, I came to realize that a number of people from East Africa, for example, were actually Anglicans back home, or they had some kind of faith or church upbringing. But once they arrived here, the church they knew back home, especially the Anglican church in this case, they found that it was not the kind of Anglican church that they were used to. The worship style was different, the liturgy was different. And so as a result, they either chose not to be part of that church or they attended other churches. And now the thought came into me that, what if we started a church where these people can feel that they belong, that they are part of the Anglican church that they knew back home? And that's how I decided to reach out to Bishop Paul, by then, Philip Paul. And even during that time, I was also taking some courses on how to begin a second service, a second worship service. I also did some courses on church planting, and I attended a number of conferences on the same. So after I spoke to Bishop Poole, he was open to that idea. And because I didn't have a lot of background in church planting, and I knew some 2 pastors who had started our church, I decided to ask them. This is Reverend Dr. John Muya and his wife, Reverend Ann Muya. I asked them if they can join me in starting a church based on the Anglican faith. So they accepted, and during this time I was based at St. Paul's Lawn Park in Mississauga, and they decided we we set a date, and we started that service. The greatest achievements that Ahadi ministry has been able to bring is mostly in the way of the impact that it has had, the ministry has had over the East African community in the Greater Toronto area. Just the ability to bring people together. When the community first started, they worshipped in a rectory, a parish rectory. And people were able to gather together and meet various needs, social needs. And then once they moved over to St. Charles, we could see that there was more opening. We were able to be visible within the community. Ahadi ministry was one of the very first communities, Kenyan communities, to start newcomer programs. And through those newcomer programs, we were able to accommodate new members from the community. We visited shelters, we offered tea and mandazi, and whenever people came to the church, we offered gifts, welcome gifts, and we went to visit, even new mothers. We supported the community members, especially newcomers, with letters of recommendation, even as they volunteered in the church. Many people have been able to, they have benefited of finding a home in our church at St. Charles by then. And as I remember, for example, we did have some people even who didn't have a place where to sleep, and we helped them to find housing, especially using members of the community. Even myself as a priest, I could go somewhere and ask a landlord to accommodate newcomers, and then we commit ourselves so that in case of anything, the landlord can reach out to us, because it is very difficult, especially for many newcomers from Africa or people of African descent, to be able to rent a place. And our church, we were at the forefront of supporting newcomers to make sure that they have a place to stay, and most of them ended up staying close to the church, which was convenient for them, which made them to make the place their home. We offered, once people helped out or came to the church, they were able to, to improve their skills through volunteering, and we were able to offer accommodations when they needed jobs. Some of them were able to find jobs and proceed with their careers just because of being part of our church community. The other issue that we thought we were able to fulfill, there have been very many sad times in the community. Like we have lost a number of people, most of who are young people or just new in the country, and then they passed on. And our church, Ahadi, has been able to accommodate those times. We offered space so that these people are accorded the kind of memorials and funerals that they deserve. But looking back, I think that I helped the Anglican Church to address an issue within its worship style that had made it difficult for the church to attract East African Canadians. I introduced a worship style and music that is more familiar to the East African Canadians, and even non-East African Canadians enjoyed the style of music and worship that Ahadi offered. Ahadi Sunday worship follows an Anglican Church of Canada order of worship, BAS, and sometimes we use an East African liturgy or order of worship mostly Kenyan Anglican liturgy. The worship is interjected by a praise and worship time. We include Swahili music, and we use Swahili scriptures as well. And many people, including non-East African Canadians, really do enjoy our style of music and worship and lifting up of hands and praise. When I think about my legacy with Ahadi Ministry or Ahadi Community Church, I feel that it's important to think about the times when Ahadi has had to undergo so many changes as a ministry or as a church. Ahadi Community Church has cruised through tremendous changes. The ministry has been hosted by churches that were on the chopping block. And this meant that the ministry had to relocate from time to time, including facing some funding challenges. Ahadi has, of course, undergone many changes, going through COVID, and yet the Ahadi numbers and the levels of engagement are as at this time at an all-time high. Ahadi Ministry and the community has become a force within the East African community in the Greater Toronto area because of its worship style, because of its outreach, because of its compassionate ministry. And Ahadi has become a force within the East African community in the Greater Toronto area because of its strategic location at 1695 Dufferin Street, Toronto. I led Ahadi into being there for the community during the best and the worst of times, providing pastoral support, presence, compassion, and space. Ahadi is now like a home to the East African community in the Greater Toronto area. And this is an important legacy of my ministry with this wonderful community. I think of my legacy also in terms of the impact that the ministry has had on the Diocese of Toronto and the Anglican Church as a whole. I think that because of my vision and leadership, the Anglican Diocese of Toronto now has a church and a potential parish that is called Ahadi Church. In the 10 years that Ahadi has flourished, the same cannot necessarily be said of other churches, especially after COVID. And these scenarios are not things to celebrate, but the continuous trajectory of Ahadi's growth is a testimony to my impeccable, visionary, and transformational leadership. And I feel very proud that I have played a role to expand the Anglican Church and the Church of Christ as a whole. As Ahadi celebrates 10 years of its existence, it is very obvious that it now has to begin looking into the future. And I would like to speak to that future of Ahadi in terms of its worship, in terms of its outreach, in terms of leadership, and in terms of its financial or stewardship. In terms of worship, I would like to say that Ahadi ministry should continue to be more creative, aiming at worship that is appreciated by all groups. It should worship. They should do worship that fosters a life of prayer and fellowship as well. in the area of outreach and community engagement. I just want to encourage the ministry and the leadership, of course, to continue to identify outreach opportunities to the various demographics. As you have noticed over the past few years, we have had challenges within the communities. We have needs. We have our young people. We have people who are constantly coming to us as newcomers. We have people in the community that they are looking for a home. They are looking for a community to identify themselves with. That is where Ahadi ministry should come in terms of its outreach and community engagement. You should strengthen the relationships with your related communities, increase your partnerships with other organizations and businesses to address common issues. You should continue to advocate for those who need you, for the issues that matter to your community. You should leverage social media for worship and outreach and other activities, something that you are already doing very well. Thank you very much. It was the greatest privilege of my life to be the founder of Ahadi Ministry and to lead the ministry into becoming a community on the verge of becoming a parish. God bless you.
My name is Reverend Dr. John Karanja, and I have been asked to say something about Ahadi congregation. I am one of the ministers together with Reverend Mrongo and Reverend Ann Muye, who were ministering in that congregation when it started. I want to just start by saying that this was a vision of the Reverend Morongo. Reverend Morongo and I went to seminary together at St. Paul's United Theological College in Limuru, Kenya. And so our knowledge of each other stems back in. So when she invited us to team up with her to start this congregation, we started it as part of a program within the Anglican Church in the Diocese of Toronto that was about the fresh expressions. So we were given that leeway to establish a congregation that would cater for the needs of immigrants, especially those from Kenya and maybe from other parts of the world that would want to join. And we, under the leadership of Reverend Mwongo, who was also the minister of the local church where this particular service started, we were able to move on, and we thank God for where this congregation has gotten today. Reverend Ann and I later moved on and to establish a different ministry, and then we moved into other things that we do together, that we do today. And we ventured into hospital chaplaincy and also into psychotherapy. So our time was needed to be spent differently. So I just want to say that and remind you all that we are talking about a vision that was a vision of this wonderful woman of God, Reverend Morongo. And so if anything has to be said, if anything has to be written, it needs to be very clear that this is her vision. And the rest of us came in to support that vision. And we are thankful to God that this has continued and grown. And I want to wish you all the best. I pray that God will continue to extend your territories to
Ahadi is more than just a place of worship. It is a pillar of support for the community. Through outreach programs and meaningful partnerships, we have responded to the needs of our neighbors, extending our spirit of generosity far beyond the church walls. Beyond Sunday services, Ahadi is where people come to find connection, a sense of belonging, and a renewed sense of purpose. We are a community that stands together, anchored in faith and unity.
My name is Florence Gerard, and I migrated into Canada in 2019. And I remember it was almost winter time. And of course, you know, the shock that comes with migrating to a new country, the different weather. And of course, I wasn't used to that kind of weather change. So I remember one day my friend invited me to come to this church. And yeah, it was the beginning of my life at Ahadi, because I was able to meet a Kenyan community, a vibrant Kenyan community at that time. And I must say that Ahadi has been home for me since then. I remember my first experience, really great experience that I've had with Ahadi was the first Christmas party in Canada. You know, when you're new in a country and you don't know anybody, you've left your family behind, and of course Christmas is a big thing in our country, and in our home particularly it was such a big thing. And I'm here in this new country with no connections, no people, but I'm so glad because Ahadi was able to be my home for my first Christmas celebration in Canada, and I cannot forget that experience. It was so great. We had a very nice Christmas Eve with songs, the choir was singing, we celebrated the evening, and of course we had a very wonderful Christmas party. And since then, Ahadi has been a home for me, and in my process and in my life, trying to immigrate and trying to settle in Canada, I have faced different challenges. But every time I needed help from Pastor Rev Mulongo, every day I called her, she was there to help me, and I can't appreciate her enough for having started this Ahadi ministry to minister to many people, to touch many lives, just like I was touched. And I have always taken time, even when it was during COVID and people were never coming to church, I always took time to come into this church, and let me tell you, it is really wonderful to be here, even if you're just alone in that empty silence and just talk to God. And it has been very, very great for me. I have experienced and benefited from many programs that Ahadi has been running, like we support people who are immigrating with their support letters for their immigration purposes. And with time, during all this process and my challenges that I have experienced, I was able to learn a few skills in terms of even writing those letters for the members. And currently I'm volunteering at this church to help Reverend to make those letters for anybody who is requiring a volunteer letter or support letter for their immigration purposes. And I'm so glad that I'm able to participate in Ahadi in that way.
With the continued love and support of our congregation, Ahadi remains committed to growth and service. Our future aspirations are built upon our shared values and mission. Let's hear from Reverend Frederick Kaya, our new incumbent priest in charge, as he shares his thoughts on what lies ahead.
My name is Reverend Frederick Luboyeda Kaya. I'm the priest in charge of Ahadi. I've been to Ahadi from March up to now. So I've been serving this community as appointed by the Diocesan Bishop of Toronto. I've served here with the community which has been welcoming, and I intend to stay and serve them and work together to lift Ahadi community as a church, but more so as a community from East Africa. One of the things we have to look for is the strategies we have for the youth. As in a community in the church, without the youth, the church is dead. So the church youth are a cornerstone of any worship community, and it is for Ahadi. So one of the strategies, if given chance and you have money, but before that, I think we need to have a youth week, a youth Sunday, whereby the youth is given the opportunity to lead the service and feel themselves inclusive as members of the community. I'm planning also to propose, if there is a chance, where we could have a computer lab, something that can attract the youth, come to the community, exercise what they know better. Technology is for them. So I would feel that if we are given a chance, in addition to the youth service, which I think starting next month, if we could dedicate the third week of every month to be a youth service that will serve the community. That's one of the strategies for the youth. Secondly, also, we need to collaborate with the other churches. These churches also may have youth community members, and in so doing, especially if we can tap the African churches amongst us and interact with them, exchange information, celebrating some things that are vital to us all. Say, for example, we are approaching Christmas. So Christmas would be one of the events that these churches would come together, say for Christmas carol, Christmas play, interact with the churches, the pastors, and the youth also. Collaborating with churches enables us to know each other, share information, share the gospel, and a lot more. We can organize trips together, but in all, trying to come together and talk about our growth. With churches, there's one church I'm sure, the Uganda Matters Church. It's also an East African community based. We can start with them, with the Christmas carols, and from there we can learn more about them and they can learn more about us. And we can work together also on the issue of immigration. As last year there were so many immigrants who came from the region and they needed care and be taken care of. So if we work together as churches from one region, we can forge ahead for the good of our communities. Another issue we have to talk about and think, strategize, is about the spiritual growth of the ministry. That includes reaching out to the communities which are despised, not only despised, but when we think of the homeless people, we can grow if we reach out to them, visiting nearby nursing homes, run cloth Because when we get as a community, our communities, they have newcomers. We can run, clothe, drive, help those who may not afford warm clothes in winter. So those are some of the things we have to do spiritually. They are tangible, but they also lead to spiritual growth. Food drive, summer camp, which also brings the youth together, and also empower the mission department to create a new Kama department. So those things can lead us to bring more people, feel that they belong, they are helped out spiritually, pray with them, and identify also those with potential, because most of the newcomers, they have potentials which need to be tapped. If we don't engage them, we lose them. But that's one of the things that we need to consider, or I consider very much in the coming month. And if we implement them, I think we will be on the right path. Other things also we need to think about is the mission. We are disciples. To make more disciples. Encourage the youth to participate fully in the service. Welcome more new members, newcomers, and reach out to people in the neighborhood to tell them that we are alive and well. That will also help us to grow the community. One of the other items, the potentials, if we try to identify them, is to have a weekly Bible study. Because God has gifted us with different talents. In the Bible study, we intend to reach out, study some books, topics in the Bible that can bring people spiritually together. So the strategy, all in all, is to reach out as to many people who can help us grow together, empowering the choir, because a church without music is also dead. And I'm glad that the choir has taken up the mantle. They are doing well in this community, and the congregation at large. So as long as we put in more effort, Ahadi will go forward and grow strong. Thank you.
Shalom, my brothers and sisters. What a great day we are having today. Congratulations to Ahadi Community Church for a decade of service to God and our community at large. I am honored to share a few thoughts about my experiences as a youth leader at Ahadi Community Church, where I serve at the executive board and at the youth leadership. It's been an incredible journey serving alongside the youth and the community at large. As a young leader, one of the most fulfilling aspects has been witnessing the growth and transformation of our young people in the church. At the youth ministry, we have focused on mentorship, empowering our youth spiritually and socially, helping them navigate their career paths, especially for the newcomers, and making all of us have a sense of belonging, a collective responsibility, and staying grounded in our faith. Ahadi Youth Charter has also fostered a strong sense of community, where we have had several successful initiatives from youth outreach programs, advocacy, career day, choir sessions that have strengthened the bond amongst us and contributed to the church mission. I also want to take this moment to highlight the success of the men's conference we recently organized through collaboration with Sauti Yetu and Diaspora Youth Network. It was an amazing gathering. To this end, I'd like to recognize the efforts and support we received from the leadership of the Anglican Church, the Executive Board, the Mission Board, the Church, the leadership of various community organizations amongst us, and the whole congregation. I look forward to continuing this journey and supporting our community as we grow in faith together. I will leave with this scripture, Psalms 145 verses 4, and it says, "One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts."
Ahadi is more than a church. It's a family, united by love, compassion, and unwavering commitment. As we move forward, we are excited for the path ahead and all that it holds. With a bright future ahead, Ahadi stands as a beacon of inclusion, a sustainable community of faith, enriching the lives of its members while contributing positively to the broader society.
Yes, I'm Henry Ojambo. It's a pleasure to have an opportunity to say a word on this very memorable and special occasion of celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Ahadi Church. I've been part of this church and this journey right from the beginning. Probably a little later I joined the congregation around 2015 when we were still at Lawn Park. Since then to date, this has been my church. I've cut my teeth in spiritual and religious growth in this place. This is the place I call home, and I would like to call home for the rest of my life. I would like to be here with my grandchildren. It's been a terrific journey, learning and deepening my faith. My two daughters, my wife, have been phenomenally active in this church. My daughter, for those of you who know, has been playing music. My wife has been part of the leadership, and I've been in the leadership myself quite a bit. I was the first warden here when we moved over from Lawn Park. I was part of the wardens until for 2 terms from 2016 when we came here, joined the leadership of the St. Chad's congregation as part of the wardens, and I was representing the Ahadi section. We went along until that was separated and remained the warden in a separated leadership structure until 2020 or thereabout, when I ceased to be a warden and passed the baton to the others who came in. Throughout that experience, it has been only glory and grace. It's been a wonderful journey. We've had a lot of fellowships here. This is where we come almost every Sunday, committed to spending as much time as possible. And I'm only hoping that those who join us and will come in future will continue to enjoy the company and warmth of this wonderful ministry. It's been a fabulous and continues to be a wonderful journey for me and my family. That's all I have to say for now.
Hello, this is Joe Wanjala. I'm here to join Ahadi members in the celebration of 10th anniversary. I'm very happy to be part of these celebrations. Having been a member of this Ahadi, I'm grateful for everything that they did to me as a member. Spiritually, I was taken well care of, and I'm happy, I'm pleased to inform you that I'm doing good, and I thank God for everything that I benefited from Ahadi. I pray and thank for the leadership led by Reverend Mlongo. This leadership of the priest in church really stood with me spiritually, financially, and everything that she did to me. I remain grateful and I thank God for this, and I pray that God continue blessing Ahadi so that it can be a blessing to so many other people who will be joining you as you continue serving God. Mungu awabariki sana. Asante.
To everyone who has been a part of this journey, thank you. Your faith, support, and love have shaped Ahadi Community Church into the strong, vibrant community it is today. Our church potential lies in its mission to offer opportunities for meaningful engagement and spiritual growth. Together, we continue to make an impact both within our congregation and beyond.
I worship